Hi there. This is the Nostalgic Dragon, the YouTube channel, which is very new, about fantasy books and mythological books. And today I will talk about my fantasy journey, which book I've read, and maybe you get inspired, or maybe you have read similar books. I think we are a bit alike, we who have gathered around this campfire on YouTube. You are very welcome. I'm very happy because there has been a very positive response on the start of this channel. Um, Subscribers already, welcome, and comments on YouTube and shares on X or former Twitter. I'm very happy for that, and it will be interesting to do this journey with you here on YouTube. And I'm firstly interested in your opinions, your thoughts. You can have good advice for me, I know, and I hope. So feel free to comment if you want to come in contact with me more directly. Write on my X account and ask questions. So I'm happy to answer all of them, of course. Well, I'm going to show you this small book journey since I was from when I was small. And as some of you know, I grew up in Sweden, so but I have Indian roots, being adopted, so this will reflect my journey of fantasy and mythological literature, and this is just a short summary, you could say, of what everything I've been reading through the years. So the first book I would like to show is this is a Swedish book, Hero Tales and Nordic Gods and Hero Tales, it says in the title. Different stories from the Nordic mythology, and stories about the trickster god Loki, for example, and other kind of war stories, of course, with, for example, Odin. I thought these stories were very interesting when I was small. I have always had a easily accessible attitude for the spiritual, and what made me very happy and interested to read these kind of stories is that mythology also exists here in Sweden, in Scandinavia. We actually have a forest nearby, and in that forest there is a big boulder or big stone. It is said that that stone was thrown by giants, pre-Christian characters, giants, we all know them. They throw the stones when Sweden was starting to get Christian or get Christianized, and the giants throw those stones in protest. And one of the stones is said to be up here behind me in the forest. I might show you sometime. If it's true or not, I don't know, but it's interesting and it's fun that mythology and these kind of stories exist still today. Another book that I've read when I was younger was The Witch and the Wardrobe. It's Narnia, it's C.S. Lewis. You know about this, I'm very sure. What did it open up for me? Well, maybe it was this wardrobe, actually. You go into the wardrobe, you open or move some clothes, and suddenly you're in a fantasy landscape with good and evil characters, and this ongoing battle. And in this winter landscape, very beautiful. Actually, now it's that kind of winter landscape here in Sweden. So I think Narnia opened up just the idea of imagination. It's not so far away. It could be in your house. I'm still getting very intrigued by visualizing this, that there could be a fantasy world in this house, actually. The other book, which you all know about, is The Hobbit. And yeah, small guy out on a big adventure. reluctantly. I think Gandalf more or less forced him or fooled him into this adventure. And what did it say to me? Well, yeah, even if we are small people, or even if we don't always believe in what we can do, we can succeed and do things we didn't thought were possible. So it opened up opportunities. I remember I read this when I was 10 years old during a summer vacation. I was very sad. I remember it because I don't think it's a spoiler anymore. Some people die in the end of the book. I won't reveal that if you haven't read Bilbo or The Hobbit yet. I was very sad, and I remember that, but also very happy because it was an exciting journey with Smaug and the dragon and everything. Naturally, after Bilbo, Lord of the Rings, no need to summarize this book. In school, we had a school library, and me and my friends, two friends, still very close friends, all three of us borrowed this book, and we read it, and we were equally amazed by it, and we talked a lot about it, and we used to play role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons, and of course we got a lot of inspiration from the Lord of the Rings. I think you could say Lord of the Rings is about an adventure group, where at least the hobbits, they are friends, and it's easy to imagine, for me at least, to be together with your friends on a great adventure against evil, and meet all this magic and all exciting stuff. So it was a kind of identification with being with your friends and going on this huge adventure and being on something exciting, and also that people who are not expected to succeed actually succeeded with something extraordinary. I think me and my friends, we were not outsiders, but we weren't trendy. So at least for me, this gave me a lot of identity, to identify myself with Frodo, for example, his struggles and his bravery. So I think Lord of the Rings, even if there are hints about mythology, it really came more clear when you read the Silmarillion. Today I read from time to time that many people think Silmarillion is a bit difficult to read. It is in a way, because it's an old style of language. Still, if you really want to get into the mythology of Tolkien, this is a great book for that. And it's interesting about all the gods, all that has happened in Middle-earth and the other parts of the world, of Tolkien's world, and everything about the elves. And you can, if you know mythology, you can see clear connections to other culture mythology, for example, Scandinavian and Greek mythology, of course, others as well. I have a book just around the corner here by David Day. I will do a specific video on that book, because it very in a very good way explains the connection between Tolkien's work and mythology. So this was a way for me to understand that Middle-earth is not only a story, it's a whole world, a universe, a place where you can be for many years. I've been here for many decades. I'm not reading Tolkien so much anymore, but I would like to reread his books again. And I think without him, I wouldn't be reading fantasy in the way I do. As I told you, I have Indian roots, and because of my roots, I was interested in where I came from, the beliefs in the country where I was born, and for me it was natural to explore Hinduism. And when I was small, I received a Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, from a close relative, and I had it on the wall. Looking at it, put a lot of hope in it, and through that, among many other things, I also got interested in these different Hindu stories. This is a newly bought book a few years ago when I was in Pune, where I'm born in Pune. And this is about the elephant-headed god Ganesha, and different stories and adventures and challenges. This is an interesting book, and you can learn a lot from these stories. These stories are, of course, for kids, but there are other versions of these stories as well. And in this book, there are nice pictures. For example, of different gods and their life. I think politism in general is very interesting, because I'm not sure about the connection between the different polytheistic faiths that exist around or have existed in the world, but you can see parallels, and that is in itself interesting, of course. I read other stories connected to Hinduism, like Mahabharata, so epics. I mean, it's on the scale of the Iliad, even greater. I have a book just behind me, Mahabharata, and I think I will focus on videos about Mahabharata later as well. It seems like the stories that we see in mythology and in other religions, or in religions as well, they are kept becoming repeated, told in new ways to capture new audience and new times and new ages, and what is trendy or not. So I think that is interesting. Another book I've read on my journey is The Dark Tower, Stephen King. This is a kind of, it's more of a dictionary, you could say, about the Dark Tower, different concepts and so on. Dark Tower, Stephen King. I'm not sure if you know the book. If you don't, you can comment in the field below. I think you do. About Roland Deschain and his search for this Dark Tower, also together with people, friends, maybe, especially later in the books. But it's very unclear, at least to me, what this Dark Tower is, especially in the first books. I'm not sure if Roland knows that himself, but he's searching or hunting for something. And it's easy to translate that to your own world if you search for identity or for a greater meaning or different things like that. I think Dark Tower is a very good series of books by Stephen King, and I mean, it's a blend of genres, fantasy, but it's a lot of Western, it's a lot of science fiction as well, so it's not clear-cut fantasy, but it's good. And it has meant a lot to me when I've been thinking about, for example, going back to India when I was younger. Did I want to do it? How would it be if I went? Was I afraid of something, not going there? Things like that. The last book I will show you, or the two books I feel left, is of course the Malazan Book of the Fallen, Gardens of the Moon. It has meant a lot for me, as I've told you in my introduction video, and if you haven't watched that, you can watch it, of course, on my channel. Demigods, gods, humans, gods intervene, humans become half gods or gods. This world is huge. It's a lot of continents, and I mean, it's huge because there are 10 big books, of course. For me, especially the understanding of the other perspective, that has been something that this book has given me, that I can understand how another person thinks. I mean, in Lord of the Rings, there is maybe only Gollum who is a grey character. In Goddess of the Moon, there are many, and you have the opportunity to choose which characters you like, and which characters you like to follow. You can say a lot about Malazan. I will also do that, but I think if I hadn't read so much mythology, I might have perceived Malasan more difficult. It's I'm reading, as you know, maybe the Iliad right now, and it's obvious that the connections are many, many names, different names for the same person or the same god, for example. That it's plot driven rather than character driven. For example, there are many things that differ from, let's say, a story like Narnia. The last book I have here is to show you that I sometimes try to read in Marathi. That's my birth language. I'm learning that. I'm not. I can speak it on a intermediate level, I think, but I have still a lot to do. Still, I sometimes read books, and this is The Wizard from Oz in Marathi. So even if that reading was more of a language learning reading, it was also interesting to see how metaphors are described in another language, and also to read a story, because it's a great story, of course, about um, Dorothy, right? And the different characters, Tin Man and the Lion. So that ends my little odyssey of books. And now I'm interested to hear about your fantasy book journey. Which books did you start with, and what are you reading now? Have you read other kind of books that inspired you to read fantasy and or mythology? Please let me know. I'm thanking you for having been here with me, and I hope we will meet soon again. Bye.